Hello guys, today I'm going to be explaining the pressure volume loop curve. So you can see the pressure in the y-axis, the volume in the x-axis, and my loop diagram in the middle. So we're going to start with the filling phase, and then we're going to go to the warm-up phase or the isovolumetric contraction phase, the ejection phase, and then the isovolumetric relaxation phase. Okay, so I want you to see this as a journey of left ventricle going through all these phases. You start with filling, contraction, ejection, relaxation, filling, contraction, ejection, relaxation. And the way I like to see it is you're filling in, then the left ventricle goes through a warm-up phase before it does its heavy duty or heavy lifting work at the gym, and then it goes through relaxation. You want to relax after too much workout or too hard workout, too high intense workout, and then go back to your filling phase again. So once you begin with right here. That's when your mitral valve, your AV valve opens, and it leads to filling of the blood to the left ventricle. Atria is contracting, blood is being filled to the left ventricle. Once the filling has reached its maximum capacity in the left ventricle, the AV valve, mitral valve, closes. So mitral valve opens here and now it closes. And this maximum capacity of a fully filled ventricle is termed as a preload or end diastolic volume. Remember, filling is your diastolic phase, and this is my end of diastole, so end diastolic volume. Once this has reached, then I have my warm-up phase. So now the ventricles with all this blood is trying to sort of, wriggle around and see, okay, I have all this blood. Let me see what I can do with this. Let me just contract a little bit and see how things are going before I begin my heavy-duty job. Okay, so this is called my isovolumetric contraction, and you can see if you go to the y-axis, the x-axis, you'll see it's equal volume throughout. Okay, and then you reach a point when the ventricle is like, okay, I have all it takes, I'm ready to do the heavy duty job where I have to contract so hard and so effectively that all the blood that I have is going to be transported to the rest of the body. So I have to pump that hard. And that's when my semilunar valve on the left side, which is going to be my aortic valve, and I call the aortic valve the gatekeeper because that's the one that decides whether the blood is going to flow to the rest of the body or not. Okay, so gatekeeper of the heart, aortic valve. The aortic valve opens, and once that opens, now my ventricle is pushing and pumping hard to eject all the blood through the aortic valve to the rest of the body. So this is my ejection phase, and you can see this is not equal volume because now the ventricle is like, okay, let me try harder, let me push harder, and then it goes all the way to its maximum capacity where it cannot pump blood anymore, and this is when your aortic valve is going to close. Okay, and at this point, for the ventricle to reach from here to here, so it has to go through all the resistance that comes to its way, goes through everything, all the challenges, and reach a point where it cannot contract anymore and it cannot pump more blood. This is the maximum resistance that the ventricle has to reach to pump all this blood, and that is called your afterload or end systolic volume, the end of the systolic phase, the contraction and the pumping phase. All right, and the volume that the ventricle has to eject during this phase is called the systolic volume. So my systolic volume is going to be the volume of blood that the ventricle is going to pump for that unit time. Okay, so that's going to be my end diastolic volume, which is my preload, the maximum capacity of volume that my ventricles had after the filling phase, after the diastole, minus my end systolic volume, the maximum resistance that the left ventricle has to overcome in order for it to pump all the blood that it has through the aorta to the rest of the body, which is my end systolic volume. So my stroke volume is end diastolic volume minus end systolic volume. Okay? So once my aortic valve has closed here, and it's going to close because now it has gone through all the pumping and it has actually pumped all the blood to the rest of the body. Aortic valve is like gatekeeper, is like, okay, now I need to close. Okay, you don't need to pump anymore because you're done ventricles, you're hell of tired now, you need to take a rest. So it's going to close here, and then what you go through is the isovolumetric relaxation. After a heavy workout, what do? We relax a little bit, right? And that's the way it should be. So it's going through a relaxation phase here, equal volume or isovolumetric relaxation. Once that has reached, then the mitral valve opens again, because during this phase, while the ventricle is relaxing, that's when the aorta also is receiving, the atria is also receiving blood from the pulmonary vein, the oxygenated blood from the lungs, and it's getting ready to contract so that it could pass the blood to the left ventricle. And then again, the left ventricle goes through the filling phase, where it's properly, efficiently perfusing the blood within its own chamber, getting it ready to again go through the warm-up phase, ejection, relaxation, and so on. Okay, so let's do a quick demo once again. Mitral valve opens, filling happens, all the blood from the atria goes to the ventricle. Mitral valve closes, filling stops, filling has reached its maximum capacity. Isovolumetric contraction happens, warm-up phase for the ventricle, aortic valve opens. Now it's time for the ventricle to eject all that it has. Ejection is happening, systole, aortic valve closes, ejection stops, ventricle is now going through relaxation until it reaches a point where it's ready to fill the blood again. So now the mitral valve opens again. Thanks for your time. I hope this was helpful. Bye.